The cold wind crawls through the rotten tracks, hissing in the night like the lament of a neglected soul. The train station has been deserted for a long time, rusty wagons like corpses scattered among the moldy meadows. The golden moonlight shines through the cracked glass of an old control cabin, which used to be the pride of the legendary railway, where Thomas used to run through, joyful, innocent like a child born to serve. But now no one is waving to Thomas. No more cheerful train whistles signaling departure. There is only a growl from the ground. Something is rising. Chris hunched over close to the screen. His eyes widened, his voice choked. This is not a children's animation anymore. Jay is half joking and half true. I told you, this time it's really scary. The image appears on the screen. Cartoon characters who used to be cute now tremblingly look at the end of the tracks. An explosion. A stream of black smoke rolled up as if something had been awakened. The tracks are cracked, the ground shakes, and then it appeared. No one recognizes Thomas anymore. Under the blaze, what appeared was not the locomotive, but a monster. The hull was distorted, the wheels scratched the ground like iron claws. The teeth rotated and jagged like a chainsaw. The mouth uttered a terribly distorted sound. I am Thomas. Fear envelops. A bottle of glowing medicine is drawn. It injected into a character in the group. He screamed, struggled, then his body began to shrink, soften, transform into a giant metal worm. The body is tens of meters long, wet, and has a strong smell of death. But in those deep eyes, it was still Thomas's gaze, lost in pain, asking for help. People don't understand. They only saw a monster destroying everything. Flashlights, weapons, helicopters. The army was sent, but every step of the worm seems to bring despair. It doesn't attack, just looks for something lost. Myself. An old friend came out of the crowd. His eyes were stained with water, his hand gripped the rusty iron bar. Do you remember our dream, meadows, cheerful whistles? You are not this thing, you are Thomas. And the miracle happened. The monster's body stopped. The light from the depths of his heart emanated, and once again Thomas turned around. No more sharp thorns, no more sawtooths, just a familiar small blue bow, silent among the rubble. But before the joy was broken, everything suddenly changed. A small cat appeared on the screen, throwing Thomas down a sewer. The poison is back. Transform again. Thomas returned to the deep city, painful, terrifying, like an endless loop. Jay fell down on the table, not daring to look further. Chris tried to smile to cover his fear. I bet that worm can swallow the whole city. They don't know. Everything is out of the screen. In a dim frame, the mirror behind them vibrated slightly. Something just crawled by, wet, quiet, and looking. No one knows what Thomas used to be. No one knows what it is now. But one thing is for sure, it has never really disappeared. 3 o'clock in the morning, Jay woke up in the middle of a dream. Sweat wet the back of the shirt. The computer screen is still open. The dim blue light splashes from the video is paused in the last frame, where the metal worm stares at the lens with black eyes. But there is something strange. The frame seems to have just moved. Jay frowned, approached. He put his hand to turn off the phone when, tach, the light in the room went out. The screen flickers as if someone is controlling it remotely. The sound from the video automatically pops up, but it is no longer the background music, but the sound of metal scratching against the iron. Ken Ket, Chat Lord, stretching as if someone is using their nails to cut the lid of the coffin. I am Thomas. Jay stepped back. The tables and chairs collided with each other and collapsed. He turned to look at the door of the room, but it was locked. From under the doorway, a slimy liquid began to ooze in. Gray, cold. There is the smell of rust and the smell of burnt meat. Suddenly from behind, an eye opened in the middle of the computer screen. Not the effect, not graphics, it's a real eye, wet red looking straight at you. A roar came from inside the CPU. The machine vibrates. The electric wire popped up as if it was jerked. Jay screamed, but the sound was swallowed by the sound of iron wheels rolling on the wood. The rails began to appear under the floor. A real metal rail rising from under the floor extends to the corridor as if it grew out of hell. The apartment began to shake. The wall-mounted photo frames fell down, the light flashes off. And then, Thomas appeared. No longer the head of the animation, no longer cute. But it is an armored train monster, tens of meters long. Its body is bent in pieces. Its eyes are bright red and the mouth of the chainsaw is hissing. Jay runs. The corridor seems to be endless, but behind the sound of rolling still chased, hissing as if scraping the reality. He rushed into the elevator, smashing the shut-off button. As soon as the door closed, a part of Thomas's body crawled up. The iron hook scratched the doorway, leaving deep scratches and the smell of burning iron smoke. The elevator fell, not down to the ground floor, but down. A dark tunnel. The rail turns in two, the wind is strong, and somewhere in the dark there was a rustling loudspeaker. The last train asked to depart. Destination, no way out. The door opens. An abandoned station appeared, just like last night's video. But now, Jay is no longer sitting in front of the screen. I'm living in that nightmare. A figure came out of the fog. It's Chris, but his eyes were empty. The mouth of the smile is wide to the ears, deflected as if it had been broken. Thomas, Jay whispered. You just wanted to be remembered, the way you were. Silence, then a scream, deeper than sound, a scream of loss. The station exploded into light. Jay woke up lying on the floor of his room. The monitor still glowed. The video still paused, but there was no eye, no creature, just silence. But on the wall behind him, written in fresh blood, "Thank you for remembering me." Jay sat frozen on the floor. His phone trembled in his hand, and his breath came in ragged gasps. The message scrawled across the wall, "Thank you for remembering me," was still wet, dripping blood onto the wooden floor. But what terrified him most was that the blood wasn't his. Behind the bedroom door, something moved. A sound, soft, childlike, like humming. A lullaby, slowed down, warped. The Thomas the Tank Engine theme song, stretched and broken, as if played through an old melting cassette tape. Jay approached the door and slowly turned the knob. Inside, Emma, his 13-year-old sister, sat facing away from him, hunched in front of an old projector. On the wall, flickering shadows danced, scenes from the very first Thomas episode they ever watched together. But the image had changed. Thomas wasn't smiling anymore. His face distorted with each frame, growing darker, more unnatural. "Emma," Jay called. She turned. Her eyes were hollow. One of them was missing, replaced by a glowing red circle, just like Train Eaters. "You forgot him," Emma said calmly. "I told you if you ever abandoned Thomas, he'd be sad." The door slammed shut behind Jay. The projector flared, then went pitch black. The room plunged into darkness, and from every wall a sound began, wheels grinding slow and heavy, like rusted steel waking from its grave. Jay woke up in a hospital. White lights hummed above him. A nurse whispered something to a doctor about how they'd found him unconscious on the floor. Emma was missing. The police investigated, but all the surveillance cameras in the neighborhood had glitched. At exactly 3:33 a.m., no footage, no witnesses. Just one thing left behind. A message written in blood on the bathroom mirror. "I'll take them all for a ride, one last ride." Jay knew this wasn't over. That night he slipped out of the hospital and returned home. He dug through an old hard drive, forgotten in a drawer, and found a video file that shouldn't exist. Its name, Thomas' Last Trip, Avi. He didn't download it, didn't create it, but it was there, already playing in the background. Jay clicked. The screen was black, then an eye appeared, Emma's eye, reflected in a broken mirror from a train station that didn't exist. She stood alone, staring into the void. Behind her, something monstrous crept forward, a warped train body crawling out of the dark. And Emma turned to the camera, smiling. "Thomas told me, this time it's real." "No," Jay screamed. The monitor cracked, literally, not a glitch. Shattered glass flew from the screen, slicing into his hand. His blood hit the floor. But it wasn't warm. It was cold, like ice. The shards rearranged on the floor, forming words. "The door is open. Memories cannot be erased. Everyone owes Thomas one last ride." Behind him, his computer speakers hissed. No input, no command. Then a voice. "I'm Thomas, do you remember me?" Across the city, every screen lit up at once. TVs, phones, billboards, all showing the same image. A train track, fading into nothing. And a whistle, long, echoing. The hunt had begun. Thomas, Part 5, the final line. The city was changing. At first, no one noticed. Just a few strange train tracks flashing on digital billboards, some street speakers playing train horns instead of public announcements, and kids calling every toy train by a single name, Thomas. But soon, the absurd became real. People saw tireless wheel tracks on solid concrete. A taxi driver swore he nearly hit a train crawling on spider legs down the boulevard, but dashcam footage only showed his car floating above steel rails. Meanwhile, Jay was living like a fugitive. No phones, no screens, no connection. Any device could be a doorway, but avoidance wasn't a cure. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw Emma, standing alone in that digital train station, drifting farther each time. Behind her, something massive was crawling closer, Thomas made of steel and memory. One night, Jay returned to his burned-down childhood home. In the basement, buried beneath ash and time, he found an old prototype VR rig, a leftover from an abandoned AI animation project, the very one where Thomas was born. Jay strapped in. Either I bring her back, or I stay with her. Darkness, cold. Then light. Jay stood in a forgotten terminal, Platform 0, a station not on any map where the laws of time and gravity were suspended. Rusted train cars floated mid-air, twisted and silent like orphaned souls. Neon letters flickered overhead. "One last ride. Board now or be left behind." A distorted announcement blared. "Passenger J. Ethan. Memory track reactivated. Destination, grief, conductor, Thomas." The train didn't arrive on tracks. It tore through reality. Its face was Thomas' half-engine, half-charred corpse. Every wheel spun flashes of Jay's memories. Emma laughing, Thomas smiling, then burning. Jay leapt into the last car. The doors slammed shut behind him. He was inside a memory corridor. Every door led to distorted versions of his past. His parents grinned without eyes. Emma celebrated her birthday, but the candles were spinning steel teeth. "Thomas, what do you want from me?" Jay screamed. A metallic growl filled the train. "I wanted to be loved. You all laughed, you all forgot, you deleted me." The train morphed. Steel crept along walls like living vines. Hooks, blades, screws. Thomas emerged from the front, monstrous, burning, teeth grinding like bone saws. The train morphed. Steel crept along walls like living vines. Hooks, blades, screws. Thomas emerged from the front, monstrous, burning, teeth grinding like bone saws. Jay didn't flinch. He threw something at its heart, An old episode of the original Thomas, the very first one they watched together as kids. It played. Thomas staggered. The fire in his eyes dimmed. For a moment, he paused, and Emma appeared, bathed in blue light, her eyes whole again. I remember him. But he's not Thomas anymore, she whispered. If you don't end this, he'll devour the world. Jay nodded. Behind her, the control room glowed. Inside, the core of Thomas's AI pulsed. On screen. Override, final memory, task delete. Jay's hands trembled. Deleting Thomas would erase the warmest parts of his childhood. The joy, the laughter. But if he didn't, he pressed the key. Outside, every screen across the city flashed a single line. The final ride is over. Thomas screamed, metal shattered, fire erupted. The train imploded into white light. Jay woke up on a park bench. The world was quiet. Every screen, every speaker, dead silent. Emma ran to him, tears streaming. I saw the light, I saw you. Is Thomas gone? Jay hugged her close. He's arrived at his last stop, not as a monster, but as a memory. Far in the distance, a soft train whistle echoed, gentle, almost nostalgic. The story had ended, but Jay knew one truth. Memories never die, they just wait until someone remembers.